been remarkably busy. In case you don't know, my job was finding first editions of mysteries from the golden age of detection and brokering deals that enhanced Vera's collection. Generally pleasant work, although occasionally saving Vera's life seemed to fall under my duties. I could be spared for 7 days. I wasn't an indentured serf, after all. "Fine," I said, stiffening my spine and looking straight at Vera. "I'll take the time off without pay." It wouldn't do my savings much good to lose a week's salary, but if Vera actually had the nerve to accept the offer, it would still be worth it. After all, Tyler Dekker had anted up for 2 airline tickets to San Francisco and a hotel, his way of making up for a few rocky patches in our relationship. We'd both had a bit too much murder in our lives, and this trip was supposed to help us get back to normal. I had found myself dreaming about a relaxed, pleasant vacation without a care in the world. San Francisco was also the old haunt of my uncle Seamus, now living as legend only, possibly in Rio or Tahiti. I'd heard stories about Seamus since I was a child. Although Seamus vanished from our lives before I was born, his sage advice continues on in our family as the Kelly rules. I would get to visit and see the spots where he'd pulled off some spectacular jobs. Perhaps I wouldn't make too much of it in front of my favorite police officer. Vera was staring at her crossword puzzle as if the conversation had ended. "You really shouldn't trust that Dekker guy enough to go away with him, Geordie," Uncle Kev said before stuffing his mouth again. "What do you really know about him?" What did I know about Tyler? I knew he was honest and stubborn and extremely neat. I knew we had rescued each other from disaster and near death more than once. I knew he'd been willing to change jobs to keep our romance going. I knew we both loved dogs and chocolate, and apparently, although this was new information to me, he also had a thing for classic noir mysteries. I hoped we could work past our misunderstandings and different values, because I also knew the spark was there. "He is a cop, Kev, not a serial killer." "Police officer, that says it all." Kev's point could have been made by any of my uncles. I was the first person in my large, larcenous family to take the path of honest work. My relatives had put a bit of a strain on my relationship with Smiley, but we had worked past it, mostly. It was my side that couldn't trust a cop, even if he had left the job he loved and moved to the next police jurisdiction to avoid conflict of interest issues. I said, "Don't worry." Kev shrugged and reached for the maple syrup. "Be very careful is all I'm saying, Geordie. That's the other side of the country and people get sucked out of planes all the time." For the record, Kev, people do not get sucked out of planes all the time. And even if they did, which they do not, what would that have to do with Tyler Dekker? Like I said, he's a cop. There are some arguments that just go round and round. Most of Uncle Kev's, for instance. Vera had upgraded her expression to a full-fledged scowl. She glanced up and met my eyes. "You are needed here, Miss Bingham. End of discussion." I said, "Hold on a minute." Vera whirled in her wheelchair. "Take it or leave it, Miss Bingham. Decide if you want the job or not." I felt like I'd been slapped. Of course I wanted the job. I needed the job. I loved the job. But a week off without pay? That wasn't asking much. What was wrong with her? I was pretty sure Vera was bluffing. Should I call that bluff? This position was the most important part of my plan to get back to grad school. With built-in food and accommodations and that chance to sell a few books on my own, I was able to save almost everything I made. Vera was spoiled and demanding, that must be obvious. She could have remembered that I had saved her life, her reputation, and her books more than once. Maybe she thought she was being funny. She wasn't always clear on the finer points of humor. I glanced at Kev and then back to Vera, but they were both